You're listening to Soap Dirt, the latest in television entertainment news.
Hey there, reality TV fans. This is SoapDirt.com, and we have an update that we want to talk about with Kody Brown, and we're going to do a little throwback to where she was a couple of years ago versus where she is now. Do you remember when Kody referred to herself as a basement wife? Do you remember that? Do you know what it is? We want to talk about that and compare it to where she is now and her queen status. Now, this came out when the show was airing a season in 2021, and she referred to herself as a basement wife. And not only did Kody mock her on Twitter, but Mary and Janelle were not very understanding either. Now, of course, with Mary, Janelle, and Kody all having left Kody, he's got plenty of room in his basement for as many wives as he wants to put there. Basically, the whole underlying premise is that it is not an architectural term at all. It is hierarchical, and it's not like there's an official polygamy handbook and there's an index and a definition of it. But we have to give Kody Brown credit. She has been involved in polygamous lifestyles and family her entire life. As we mentioned on a prior podcast, her dad was the big cheese, the big 500-pound gorilla at the UAB. That is the United Apostolic Brotherhood. I hope I'm saying that right. It is the branch of fundamental Mormonism where they still embrace polygamy. The main Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints and the state of Utah both have very strict rules and laws against polygamy. But the UAB does not, and they fully embrace it. So Kody grew up with a dad who had several wives. She grew up with several moms helping to raise her. So she has been in polygamy her entire life up until November of 2022 when she walked out on Kody Brown. She was in her 50s, so that's 5 decades of polygamy. Janelle came to it later in life. Mary did not grow up in a home where there was plural marriage. Kody was raised differently and came to it as an adult. So I would have to say, of the 5 adults involved in this relationship, that Kody Brown knows what she's talking about. So when she says she's a basement wife, that means in the hierarchy. So imagine how many wives there are. She referred to the queen bee wife, the head wife, as the top of that pyramid. And of course, when they were all still married, everybody knows that that was Robin Brown. She remains Kody's only legal wife, his only wife, period, now that his other spiritual wives walked out. But she was definitely in the catbird seat in the preferential spot as the head wife. So Kody mocked this. Mary and Janelle kind of mocked it at the time, because they were still sort of drinking the Kool-Aid. But basically, it is the bottom rung. Kody talked about it on that season's Sister Wives reunion, the tell-all, and said, if you have a situation where there's a wife that's the queen bee, then the other wife goes in the basement. She doesn't matter as much. I've seen it enough. I've seen it a lot. She's not talking about having seen it a lot or enough in her relationship with Kody Brown. She's talking about the entire range. She had extended family that were all in this situation, and they were not all the top-ranked wife. So she knows the aches and pains and heartbreak that come with being a basement wife. So when she uses that word, it has a very specific connotation, a very personal connotation to her. When the tell-all host asked her about it and why she didn't try to get herself out of the situation, Kody said that she didn't even know at the time. She said she let it happen. And so, yes, she had this experience growing up, but then she went into this marriage with Kody Brown, and she was very naive, and she was really into them. I mean, you could tell looking back at the early seasons how much she just adored Kody Brown and just wanted his attention and had been interested in marrying him for a while, but he married Janelle first and then circled back around. He said some really nasty things about their courtship and her weight in their book about how their sister wives family formed. And she had said she felt like a basement wife instead of a queen wife. Now, let's fast forward to her life now. Christine Brown has left Kody Brown behind, and she has called David her king, and she called herself his queen, and that's what he calls her as well. And she showed off a little picture where he had left her a message. She seems to be in a very sweet romance now after basically starving for attention for a decade. But back at the time when this episode aired, Janelle kind of mocked the notion of a basement wife and mentioned that she had lived in a windowless basement early on in their marriage when she became wife number 2 to Kody Brown. Not long after he married Mary Brown, then they lived in a trailer for a while where there's no basement because that would just put you, I don't know, I guess up under it near the wheels. But nevertheless, it's not an architectural term. It's a hierarchy. That's the terminology. So Kody tweeted a couple of things when this episode aired where Christine, who was already struggling and clearly considering how she could get herself out of this situation. This was Kody's reply. Strange. My big house design had a basement garage. No basement wife. Each wife would get a 2-story condo-like suite. So he's trying to defend how she felt by talking about that big house that he wanted. If you remember, Christine did not want to live in a house with all the wives. Now that she's left him and so much of this has spilled out, no doubt fans can see why, because she saw herself as lowest on the totem pole, and she definitely felt that way, and that's why she was the first to walk out. Also, at the same time, he tagged Christine in a second tweet and said the whole basement wife thing is really a family nuance thing. I don't understand what Christine was meaning or referring to. So Kody tweeted that he had basically no idea that Christine saw herself and their relationship as the lowest on their totem pole. I'm asking that as a question. Did he really not see that? She had been begging for attention, begging for dates, begging for a lot of things, and definitely felt like that she was the lowest rung on the marriage ladder. Rather than tweeting something about being compassionate or loving her, he tweeted out something about the big house and bragging about how each wife would have gotten a condo and said he didn't understand what she was talking about, which it's hard to believe that it's true. Now we come to present day. Christine is living in a $1 million home of her own in Utah, sharing it just with her daughter, Truly Brown. She's dating David Woolley, who she calls her king, and he calls her queen. So it doesn't sound like that she has any basement wife days in her future, and we wish her the best of luck. Come back to soapdirt.com all the time for more news on Sister Wives. Check out our Sister Wives news and updates on our website. Check out our podcast on Spotify and all the other streaming platforms for more reality TV news. And be sure to check us out on youtube.com as well. Check our Soap Dirt channel for the latest reality TV news and updates. And thank you for listening.
Thank you for being a loyal listener. Follow us wherever you get your podcast, because you don't want to miss the next episode. Soap Dirt is on all the major podcast platforms, including Apple Podcast, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and more.